What if I told you that the man most likely to become the next mayor of Los Angeles has no home? What if I told you that the most powerful Democrats in the country, Hollywood celebrities, late-night television hosts, the entire media establishment, are throwing absolutely everything they have at one single man, and it is not working? What if I told you that registered Democrats in the bluest city in America are lining up, on camera, to vote for a Republican? This is happening right now. A bombshell new poll just dropped, and it changes everything. If you believe the political class has completely failed the American people, and you are watching the proof in real time, smash that like button right now. Because what you are about to see is one of the most extraordinary political stories of the last 20 years. A man who lost his house in the Los Angeles fires, had zero insurance, and is currently living out of hotel rooms, is now leading the sitting mayor of the second largest city in the United States. Let that sink in, but here is what the media absolutely does not want you to understand. This story is not really about one man. It is about what Los Angeles has become, and it is about why the people who are responsible for this disaster are suddenly and visibly terrified. Forget the polls for a moment. Forget the celebrities. Forget the political operatives sitting in their offices telling you what Los Angeles residents actually think. Let us go straight to the streets. Because when you put a camera in front of real people, not focus groups, not party donors, not carefully selected talking heads, what you get back is something that no spin doctor on earth can walk back. These are not fringe voices. These are not Republican plants. These are everyday people who live and work in Los Angeles. And here is the part that should stop you cold. Almost every single one of them is a registered Democrat. Ask them what Mayor Bass has accomplished during her time in office. Listen carefully to what comes back. 1.5 years. That is how long it has been since the fires tore through some of the most recognizable neighborhoods in the country. And the residents standing in those ruins have one question that Karen Bass still has not answered. She was not even here. That is not a Republican attack advertisement. That is a lifelong Democrat standing on a Los Angeles street in the wreckage of what their own mayor allowed to happen, saying it directly into a camera. The hard truth. That is the phrase that keeps surfacing. Not my party. Not my team. Not my side. The truth. But before you understand why these people are walking away from everything they voted for, you need to understand what the man they are walking toward has actually been through. Because Spencer Pratt did not decide to run for mayor on a whim, he lost everything first. And what came next will change the way you see this entire race. Think about every politician you have ever seen run for office. Every single one of them has something to protect. A reputation carefully built over years. A donor network they cannot afford to lose. A career they have been grooming since college. A home they go back to at the end of the day. Spencer Pratt has none of those things anymore. The fire came in January of 2025, and it took everything. The home was gone. The neighborhood was gone. And when the smoke finally cleared and people started asking the hard questions about what comes next, he had no insurance policy to fall back on. No safety net, no backup plan. Right now, at this very moment, as he campaigns for the highest elected office in Los Angeles, he is living out of hotel rooms, moving from one to the next. No permanent address, no place to call home. And here is what separates him from every other candidate in this race. He did not hide it. A normal politician would have buried that story, managed the optics, hired someone to make it disappear. Spencer Pratt drove a trailer to the lot where his house once stood, the actual ground where it burned, and filmed his campaign advertisement right there. Think about the raw audacity of that decision. Think about what it communicates without saying a single word. While Karen Bass operates out of a secured mayor's office with a full staff and a city budget behind her, Spencer Pratt is standing in the rubble of his own neighborhood, looking directly into the camera and telling the people of Los Angeles, "I am one of you. I lost what you lost. I am living what you are living." 12 of his neighbors died in that fire.
12 people who woke up that morning with no idea it would be their last. 7,000 structures gone in a matter of hours. And the response from the city leadership that was supposed to protect them. A political class that was either asleep at the wheel or not there at all. This is not a man who looked at City Hall and saw an opportunity. This is a man who looked at City Hall and saw the institution that failed him, failed his neighbors, and failed an entire community, and decided that someone had to answer for it.
He is not running for power. He is running because power destroyed everything he had. And when a man with nothing left to lose goes up against the people he holds responsible for taking it, that is not a typical political campaign. That is something far more dangerous to the people in charge. But that is not even the most shocking part of this story. Because the moment the establishment realized he was actually gaining ground, the moment the polls started moving and the donors started paying attention, they did not stop to ask whether they had failed the people of Los Angeles.
They declared war on him, and what they did next, it blew up in their faces in the most spectacular way possible. That is a sitting Los Angeles City Councilwoman, a woman who has held elected office for over 5 years, a woman who is now running to become the mayor of the second largest city in the United States, telling parents that the distance between their child's classroom and a drug-riddled homeless encampment simply does not matter. Whatever. Spencer Pratt had been hammering this exact issue for weeks. He had been showing up to debates, posting the footage, calling her out by name. He exposed her vote against legislation that would have required encampments to be cleared away from school grounds. He made her record impossible to ignore, and she responded with, "Whatever." But here is where the story takes a dramatic turn. That is not a political operative. That is not someone sent by a campaign. That is a parent, an ordinary Los Angeles resident, standing at their own window, describing their mourning, the kind of mourning that Nithya Raman has never had to experience from inside her own home. Because here is what happened next. And this is the moment that went nationally viral. Organized, fed-up Los Angeles citizens did exactly what Raman said she had no problem with. They built it. Tents, trash, old tires, a working barbecue, right there on the public street in front of her home.
Now let that contrast land. Nithya Raman has a nice house, a protected street, a neighborhood insulated from the exact conditions she has spent years defending as a policy position. She has the luxury of saying whatever about encampments near schools because she has never had to explain one to her own children. Spencer Pratt does not have a house at all. And the moment a symbolic encampment appeared outside her front door, the same kind of encampment she voted to protect near other people's children, she was rappelled. Suddenly very concerned about what happens on her street. According to Pratt, this is not a coincidence. Raman and Karen Bass have been working together, coordinating, to find every possible way to push him out of this race before primary day. The people of Los Angeles are watching all of it. And then, as if the establishment had not already overplayed its hand enough, the big guns arrived. What they did next made everything dramatically worse for them. Here is what happens when a political outsider starts actually winning. The machine turns on. Late-night television segments mocking his living situation. Celebrity social media posts dripping with contempt. Carefully produced hit pieces from people who have not set foot in the neighborhoods they are supposedly defending. People who go home every night to gated properties in hills that never burned. They went after the hotel rooms. They went after the trailer advertisement. They went after his reality television past, his celebrity profile, his personal life. Everything except the one thing that actually matters in a mayoral race.
His policy positions, because on policy, on the actual substance of what he is saying, they cannot touch him. The evidence is not on their side. The evidence is on the streets of Los Angeles, and it has been there for years. That is not a campaign talking point. That is a factual description of what is happening on the ground right now. The voters who put Karen Bass into office, the people who believed her promises about homelessness, about safety, about rebuilding this city, feel completely and utterly betrayed. They are not crossing the aisle because they have suddenly become Republicans. They are crossing it because they have become desperate. And the celebrity attacks, the late-night mockery, every single hit piece. It is not working. In fact, it is doing something the establishment never anticipated. It is making him stronger. But none of that prepared anyone for what the media tried next. Because the attack that was designed to end his campaign permanently, the one they were absolutely certain would finish him off for good,
it blew up in their faces on live television. Here is the fully expanded Section 6, written to exactly 400 words, no contractions, no abbreviations, all years and numbers spoken aloud as Americans say them. The anchor had a mission walking into that interview. You could feel it in the very first question. This was not a conversation. This was not journalism. This was a political execution dressed up as news coverage, and the weapon had been chosen carefully. 17 years ago, a 21-year-old Spencer Pratt gave an interview in which he speculated about 9/11 conspiracy theories. That is the clip they pulled. That is what a major national news network decided was the most important topic to raise. Not the fires, not the encampments, not the 12 people who burned to death in his neighborhood. A 17-year-old audio recording of a 21-year-old saying something careless. In Los Angeles politics, where perception moves faster than fact, this was supposed to be the kill shot. A single toxic question designed to make every undecided voter in the city recoil and walk away permanently. Watch exactly what he does. Do you see exactly what just happened in that room? The anchor arrived with a 17-year-old audio clip and a predetermined narrative. He wanted the story to be about conspiracy theories. He wanted Spencer Pratt on the defensive, stumbling, explaining himself, losing ground with every word. Instead, Pratt took that question, that carefully constructed trap, and turned it into the single most powerful argument of his entire campaign. He did not deny the clip. He did not deflect. He used it. He walked the audience from a 21-year-old speculating about 9/11 all the way to a 42-year-old man who watched his neighbors burn to death because the city that was supposed to protect them was not doing its job.
That is the question every single person watching that interview started asking. Why is a national anchor reaching back 17 years when 12 of this man's neighbors died in a fire less than 18 months ago? Why are they relitigating a careless comment from a 21-year-old instead of asking the sitting mayor of Los Angeles why she was not in the city when it was burning? The answer is not complicated. Because the people running that network and the people running that city need the conversation to be about anything, absolutely anything, other than their own failures. And the audience sees it. Clearly, the polls already told you that. But what the polls revealed next went far beyond one interview, far beyond one man, far beyond anything the establishment was prepared to handle. Here is the fully expanded Section 7, written to exactly 350 words, no contractions, no abbreviations, all numbers and percentages spoken aloud as Americans say them.
Here is the number that stopped the entire political establishment cold. A statistical tie. A man who entered this race at 7%, who every political analyst dismissed, who the media treated as a punchline, who an army of Hollywood celebrities lined up to publicly humiliate, is now in a dead heat with the sitting incumbent mayor of the second largest city in the United States of America. Let us be absolutely clear about what these numbers mean on the ground. If not a single candidate clears 51% in the primary, this race does not end. It moves to a general election, and in that general election, it is one name against one name. Spencer Pratt versus Karen Bass. Nothing else. No third option. No escape route for the establishment. They were fed a bunch of lies, and now they are standing behind the one man in this race who told them the truth. Even when the truth was ugly. Even when the truth was inconvenient. Even when the truth cost him his own home to discover. Not abstract ideology, not political theory, not the tired talking points the establishment uses to avoid taking responsibility for what they have allowed this city to become. Just the basics: safe streets, affordable housing, tax dollars that actually reach the infrastructure they were meant to fund, instead of disappearing into a system that has produced nothing but failure, year after year, for the people who live here. But here is what you need to understand. The poll is not the story. The numbers are not the story. The story is what those numbers represent, what is boiling underneath the surface of Los Angeles right now, and why it does not stop at the city limits. Because what is happening in this city is not just about one race. It is a signal, and it is being sent to every major city in America. Here is the fully expanded Section 8 with the binge watch outro, written to exactly 300 words, no contractions, no abbreviations, all numbers spoken aloud.
What is actually happening in Los Angeles right now is not a mayoral race. It is a warning shot. For decades, for generations, the political establishment has operated on one foundational assumption, that certain cities are permanently locked, that certain voters will never leave, that you can fail them, ignore them, lie to them year after year, and they will still pull the lever for the same party, the same machine, the same faces, because they believe they have nowhere else to go. Los Angeles was supposed to be the most locked city of all. Democrats funding a Republican, Democrats attending his rallies, Democrats saying on camera, not anonymously, not quietly, that they are done, that they have had enough, that they are willing to try something completely different. Because the same story is playing out in city after city across this country, the same broken streets, the same unanswered promises, the same political class protecting itself with media distractions, while the people they were elected to serve watch everything fall apart around them. And the people are choosing,
not because they have suddenly become Republicans, not because any ideology changed overnight, but because the failure became impossible to defend, impossible to spin, impossible to look away from. Spencer Pratt may win. He may not. The numbers are razor thin, and Los Angeles is still one of the most deeply progressive cities on the face of this earth. The establishment will fight with absolutely everything it has right up until the final vote is counted. But the numbers do not lie, and the streets do not lie. And when a man with no home, no insurance, and nothing left to lose is standing in a statistical tie with the incumbent mayor of the second largest city in the United States, something has already shifted. Something fundamental. Something that does not reverse.
this is only the opening act. The political realignment moving through this country is accelerating faster than anyone in the establishment predicted. Cities that were considered permanently unreachable are cracking open. Voters who were considered permanently loyal are walking away. And the people who have run these institutions for decades are starting to understand that something has gone very wrong for them. The world is changing faster than the political class can spin it. Click on the next video, because we are tracking every single development in the races and the stories that the mainstream media refuses to cover honestly. Do not miss what comes next.